Welcome back, everyone. Mark Becker here again. I see attendees are starting to come in. I will go ahead and kick it off. My usual slides. Welcome back to Peer-to-Peer World Virtual Conference. This is our latest session, which is brought to us by all of our great sponsors and hosts, such as CauseVox. Really appreciate folks that were able to sponsor this year's conference, making it free for everybody to attend and share thought leadership and hear the latest and greatest, and just collaborate on all things peer-to-peer. So thanks to all sponsors. Again, this is one of many sessions going on over, we're on week 2 of 5 weeks. We have one more session after this at 4 p.m. Eastern time, or wherever you're at locally. And of course, these are all being recorded. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Again, everybody probably knows how Zoom works by this point. So I almost feel bad putting this slide in there, but do use the Q&A to ask questions as you think of them, and we'll get to them as we can. And happy to answer those. There's chat also available if you just want to say hi or share thoughts as well. But the Q&A is a great way to put those questions in to make sure we get those addressed. And if we don't have time, we'll definitely follow up after the fact, right? So, and then after the end of the session, stay on and complete a very brief survey, just to take some time to find out what you thought of the session and overall how we can make it better. But at this point, I want to hand it off to Candice, who's going to show you a lot of great things today. I've already had a little peek at her session. So Candice, it's all yours.
Thanks, Mark. I'm excited to be part of Peer-to-Peer World. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so we're going to get started with our session today on Peer-to-Peer Toolkits, the secret to peer-to-peer fundraising success. And just a little bit about me before I talk to you for an hour. My name is Candice. I run content and education here at CauseVox. So a little bit about CauseVox. It's a digital fundraising platform that helps you raise more with less effort. So we try to make really simple and easy software that helps you run donation pages, crowdfunding, peer-to-peer fundraising, event ticketing. We have this new feature called Pledge Now, Pay Later, which is really cool. It helps you get more gifts through installments. So if you're interested in learning more about CauseVox, we can always connect afterwards. And kind of just going back to a little bit about me. So over the last over 6 years that I've been at CauseVox now, I've spent a lot of time with both our customers. My first 4 years were more on the customer success side of things. So I worked one-on-one with hundreds and thousands of organizations to help them run their peer-to-peer fundraising. And then over the last 2 years, I've really shifted more into educating nonprofits on how they can really raise more online. And so a lot of that has also been with peer-to-peer fundraising specifically. So I'm drawing from both all of my experience working one-on-one with nonprofits that have used our platform over the years, and also from my experience over the last couple of years of creating content for thousands of organizations. So before I dive too far in, I want to give you an idea of what we're really going to learn today. So the first section is all about why peer-to-peer toolkits help you succeed. Then I'm going to show you how to build a great toolkit. This is where we're going to spend most of our time. I have tons of great examples for you in there. And then we're going to go over how you can really best distribute that toolkit at the end, and then hopefully have some time for Q&A. So let's get right into it. We have so much content to share. It's unreal. So let's talk a little bit about why peer-to-peer toolkits help you succeed. So over the course of everything that we see here at CauseVox, the thousands of organizations that run campaigns, we typically see that peer-to-peer fundraising actually raises twice as much as opposed to crowdfunding campaigns. And so this isn't a surprise. I think all of you that are here at Peer-to-Peer World know how valuable peer-to-peer fundraising is, but there is an art to it, right? There's not every peer-to-peer fundraising campaign effectively engages and empowers their audience to succeed. But the thing here at CauseVox is I get to see campaign after successful campaign, and I actually personally follow up with them and ask them, what made your campaign so successful? We do actually webinars with some of these fundraisers just to share with our wider audience about what they actually did. But, otherwise we even sit one-on-one and just ask them how they made their fundraiser so successful. And so after seeing over 6,500 peer-to-peer campaigns run on our platform with over 116,000 personal pages, after I've talked to so many of these fundraisers of the top peer-to-peer fundraising campaigns on our platform, they all had something in common, and it was all a fundraising toolkit. So after seeing all of these thousands of campaigns and personal pages, toolkits have stood out as the biggest difference between a good campaign that maybe reaches its goals and a great campaign that really not only exceeds their fundraising goal, but also is set up for success on an ongoing basis, especially with these annually run peer-to-peer campaigns. So before I go too far into talking about toolkits, I want to give you just a basic definition so we're all on the same page. So a peer-to-peer toolkit is a package of materials you provide to the people who sign up to fundraise for you that helps them fundraise for you. So basically the objective of a peer-to-peer toolkit is giving them all of the promotional materials and guidelines they need to succeed. And so this, again, has come up in so many of my conversations. So Amber Winter, Executive Director of Parkinson's, Nebraska, said that I would say the toolkit was the most important part of our success in our campaign. Andrea Buchanan, Executive Director of Spinal CSF Leak Foundation, also said we created a toolkit for participants to use, which has been met with rave reviews. People very much appreciate that resource. And Emma Kugel, Donor Relations Associate at Summit Assistance Dogs, also said, I think when fundraisers have something to work off of, it's really useful for them to be successful as a fundraiser. So this is from all of our conversations with so many fundraisers who have run really successful campaigns. On the contrary, a lot of the peer-to-peer campaigns that don't do well tend to make a lot of the same mistakes. So a few things that I've seen across the board is that the most investment is just getting someone to sign up to fundraise for you, while there's not a lot of like follow-up or engagement to really get those people to actively fundraise. There's a lack of expectations set. They think that, just by signing up and they're supporting you, but they actually need to take that step further to actually fundraise. There's not a clear direction of what they should do next. So once they sign up, what's the next step? Where do they go from here? So without that clear direction, a lot of fundraisers end up freezing and not really knowing what to do next. And they don't have necessarily enough knowledge about the campaign or the organization to be able to articulately and clearly fundraise for the organization. So this is kind of like a little bit of a gap in knowledge, because you might tell a great story to get people to sign up and engage with you, but if they don't know how to also tell that story to their friends and family, it's not going to be successful. And also the general population that you're engaging to fundraise for you aren't fundraising experts. And that should be no surprise. When you first started fundraising for your organization, you probably weren't a fundraising expert either. I mean, there's definitely some trainings and courses and a small segment of options at college, but a lot of people that end up fundraising have to really learn how to fundraise. And I think it is always an ongoing process to learn how to fundraise better, which is why all of you are here today. And yeah, so just acknowledging that people don't necessarily know what a multi-channel marketing campaign would look like for their personal fundraising page, that's like also a good thing to take into it. So these are the most common mistakes I see with a lot of the peer-to-peer campaigns. They just assume that people are going to know what to do once they sign up. And so it's great because people want to participate and they want to support you, but they don't know how. So they don't succeed. And that leads to people being disappointed, feeling like they failed, and probably if not donor churn, but probably peer-to-peer churn. So, they might not come back and fundraise for you the next time you ask them. So all of this can be solved with a fundraising toolkit. Because it gives them all of the content they need in order to clearly articulate your mission. It also gives them clear instructions and next steps about what to do once they're signed up and ready to fundraise. And you have people that feel supported by your organization. So with a toolkit, you're giving them all the tools they need so they don't have to actually spend the time and the effort to try to craft all of this content themselves, because it's also likely that people don't have a lot of time. So if it's going to take them a long time to do something, they're not going to be able to do that. So the more you support them, the more likely that you are to get more money raised and have really happy fundraisers. So the great thing with happy fundraisers is that not only will they raise more for you the first time around, but they'll also come back and raise more for you the next time around when you ask them. So happy fundraisers make your peer-to-peer fundraising massively successful, not just once, but for years to come. So let's talk about these toolkits. How do you actually build this toolkit? What's in a toolkit? There's a lot of components and there's a lot of variations. So when I go through all of these suggestions for a toolkit, don't feel like you have to have each and every one of them the exact way that I share, because a toolkit is actually best when it's customized for your particular fundraising campaign. So just kind of keep that in mind, and hopefully some of the examples and things and tips that I give you help you really imagine what yours could look like for your specific fundraiser. So I've looked at a lot of these fundraising toolkits over the years, and I've come up with a list of things I see most common in a lot of these fundraising toolkits. So the anatomy of a fundraising toolkit starts with a table of contents. I guess it starts with really, just kind of a title page, but I kind of left that off. But table of contents, really, so people can easily navigate through your toolkit. A campaign overview, so you're basically educating them on the information they need in order to decide to fundraise for you. The fundraising guide, equipping them with the fundraising know-how that they can use to then effectively fundraise for you. How to do outreach. An email package, helping them share over email, of course, social media package, same thing. And then also a promotional content calendar or timeline to work off of. And then, of course, FAQ and contact info. So we'll go into each and every one of these so that you can get a good look at what other nonprofits are doing to creating really effective toolkits. So this is one from Faith in Action, just a really simple table of contents so that you can get a look at what all of their toolkits look like. So just the broad overview, which has a lot of the components of what I just listed. Similarly, Amigos International, they actually equip their participants in their summer program to fundraise for their volunteering efforts. So you can see more about the contents of their toolkit here as well. So it also includes a video pitch and a lot of great details. So these slides are going to be available. And so you can go back into each of these slides and examples that I'm showing you so that you can view them for yourself. And I'm actually also going to put in the link. We have a blog post about creating a toolkit, and there's a download option on there to actually get pretty much all the examples of what I'm sharing today. You can download 10 fundraising toolkits examples right now. So I just pasted that link in the chat if you actually want to grab that resource package so that you can, also take a look at all of the examples later, because I'm going to be sharing a lot of bits and pieces. So yeah, let's go over the campaign overview and what that can look like. It does look a little different, again, for different organizations. So the thing that we want to keep in mind is what the context is. So, so for Duradash, they were doing an activity-based challenge, and you'll see one of the things I really like about this toolkit. Oh, sorry, I pasted the link to just panelists, but I'm going to include it to everyone now. Sorry about that. So one of the things I like is that it's really formatted nicely. It's brief. It's only 2 pages. I don't have to really dive and read too much in order to get the basic gist of what their organization is about, why I would participate in the activity challenge, what I'm supporting by participating, and how to get started. So very brief. I like that the dates are at the top of the page. And it really does give you just the basics. The campaign overview is not all the details, just the basics. Another campaign overview I liked is actually from Fiverr Children's Foundation. They first talked about what the impact would be of their Giving Tuesday campaign, and then they actually very clearly stated their fundraising goal, who they were engaging to participate, and the actual time commitment that they were asking from each of their fundraisers, which I also thought was a nice way to engage people, because a lot of people are super short on time and they don't know when they're signing up to fundraise for you how much investment this is going to look like for them. So giving them that idea and setting those expectations is actually great. Another part of Volo City Kids Foundation, they did this is part of their marathon fundraising toolkit. And the first thing that they did, as soon as you open the toolkit, they just report the impact of the organization and start with that. And so that also gets people excited to participate and move forward with fundraising for the organization. So I just thought that was a great visual in their toolkit. And then also Summit Assistance Dogs had some great links to their website. They also went through their mission. They included their social media links for people to engage with throughout the campaign and how to tag them. The hashtag was included in this. The video for the page for the fundraiser was also included in this. So lots of follow-up links for them to use throughout the fundraiser as well. So the goal of the campaign overview is to really give your fundraisers quick and easy to consume content that gives them the basic info that they need to decide to fundraise for you and have a good idea of what they're actually signing up for. So the contents of this usually are an about us, so about the organization, some statements about the impact that your organization is going to make through either this campaign specifically or has already made in the past. About the campaign specifically. So really answering the question why they should fundraise, who's going to be benefiting from them fundraising for the campaign. All the details about participation. So any ways that you can set expectations is really, really great. So I loved that time commitment expectation, just, that from that one example I shared, but also dates, important dates, times, locations, if you're doing an event associated with this, any activities that they're expected to participate in. Also just what's the next step once they do decide to fundraise, how do they get involved? Hashtags and those additional resource links. So the best practices that I've seen for creating these, I love a really nice branded toolkit. I think the Volo City Kids Foundation has a really nicely formatted toolkit. Duradash also did a great job of really branding their toolkit and making it elevating it with graphics and making it feel really professional. Not that you can't do something simple and easy as well, but I really do think a nice formatted and branded toolkit helps a lot. And also just keep that campaign overview short. You don't want it to be too overwhelming. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about what is actually in that fundraising guide that you provide to your fundraisers as well. So basically, fundraising guide should give them what they need, the know-how they need in order to fundraise for you. So one of my favorite examples is from, this was CCAN, Chesapeake Climate Action Network. They just have this fundraising made easy slide included in their toolkit, gives them 5 quick steps that they can quickly read, consume, and understand about what the basics of fundraising is. It's creating their page first. They have to make their first donation to their own page. They're asking them to do that. They are saying who to ask. Ask your closest friends and family to make the first donations as well. Email your next circle of friends and contacts. So they're even building in like kind of like a soft launch to help them really succeed with fundraising. And then also number 5, reach out to their broadest circles. So I really like that formula that they broke down and made super simple. I also really like that they had links to technical support articles, as well as who they could ask if they had any questions about fundraising as well. Amigos also had 4 keys to increasing their fundraising. I won't read all of the details of all of these, but I think that some of them are really great examples. MDLT, for example, they had a really quick and easy to consume infographic about fundraising. So register, promote, hike, thank. I love it. I can really quickly just look at an image and understand what the process is. But then they also had their process lined out next to it or alongside it with, what they should do to set their fundraising goals and their distance goal for how far they were going to hike. And then also just best practices on promoting their fundraiser. Summit Assistance Dogs had a little bit of a different type of overview here, because they're kind of assuming that people have already signed up to be a virtual table captain, which is a peer-to-peer fundraiser. So they include the event details, but then they also go through what the specific goals and expectations are of a virtual table captain, which I love. It's basically, they're just saying, hey, you're here to fundraise for us. And then getting started, they have some really quick and easy bullet points there to help them get started. And lastly, sometimes I see included in this is a section on how to create a personal fundraising page using whatever platform that you're using to run peer-to-peer. So for example, this was Faith in Action, had a whole section of their toolkit dedicated to the step-by-step process of creating a fundraising page with CauseVox. It gives them more information about what to expect when they actually go to sign up and create their page. So breaks all the steps down. So definitely gets ahead and makes it really easy for them to get a look ahead at what they're going to be creating. And they even go into how they've already put in a default fundraiser appeal for them, so they don't have to actually create their own content for their page right away. They can kind of work off the language that they already included. So that was a nice view of that. So again, the fundraising guide is really just all about educating your fundraiser on how to fundraise and how to get started with fundraising. A lot of it looks like step-by-step fundraising instructions, giving them just the basic details of how do you actually fundraise? What does fundraising look like? What channels should they consider? The best toolkits also help them set fundraising goals, as well as if there are any activity-based challenges involved, how to set goals for those challenges as well. And then also tips on fundraising page setup has been a commonality in a lot of these fundraising guides. So one of the things that you can do to make your fundraising guide as easy as possible is also and just making it as easy as possible for fundraisers to set up their page. So try to choose a platform that's really, really easy. Not to plug Cosvox too much, but Cosvox, the personal fundraising page setup, is about 60 seconds, and you can pre-fill in all the content for them. So there's not a lot that they have to do to actually get started fundraising. It's really just a very quick and easy setup that they can do on any device that they might be using at the moment. So the easier it is for people to set up their page, and if there's integrated social sharing options, that'll kind of cut out a lot of what you have to put in the fundraising guide, because then they just need the content that's really just about the basic idea of how to fundraise. So that is my tip for setting up a fundraising guide. I really think outreach planning is important. I didn't see it in a ton of my examples that I've included. It's in a handful of them. It's also sometimes sort of part of the fundraising guide section, but outreach planning is really important because it helps people identify who they should actually be reaching out to make a gift. Again, because fundraisers don't naturally know necessarily how to fundraise, you're going to have to educate them on who they can be thinking of to ask to make a gift. So Amigos does this really well in their toolkit. They ask each of their participants to make a list, write down a list of 100 or more potential donors. And they, share why this list is so important to their success. And they go into what makes someone want to give to you. They're saying it is personal. So think of the people that you or your family know well. Involve your family in preparing this list, not just thinking through your own people in your life, but also, who are your extended contacts. And they give some tips about, when to start. They're saying start early. And also, use your own judgment of people who you think will want and have the means to give. So I think these are really great details, and you can really customize this type of thing for yourself to help them think through each and every person that could potentially be a donor. So yeah, donor prospecting, right? So I love this example from Amigos. They had their list of family members and family friends, professional acquaintances, parents, guardians, professional businesses, professional and business associates as well, parents and guardians, social contacts, parents and guardians of your friends. So I loved this. It gave these mostly high school students a good framework to think of, hey, it's probably not going to be too many of my friends, but thinking through a lot of the networks who are most likely to give to their page. So this would be, again, something that you can create and customize really easily for your own personal audience of peer-to-peer fundraisers. So the goal of the outreach planning section of your toolkit is to help fundraisers best identify who they can be reaching out to, and identifying those potential donors, giving them some the best outreach planning parts of the toolkit, gives them tips on creating their list of who to reach out to, and really the best of the best, have them challenge them to think of a specific number of people, because that gives people a very specific idea of what their goal is. So if you just want people to ask 20 friends to give, that's great. But they were saying, hey, you're trying to fundraise $1,000, you need 100 people to reach out to. So a lot of this is very much based on your own fundraising goals as well, for the overall campaign, and helping identify a specific number of people they should be reaching out to. So you can kind of take a look at, hey, we're trying to raise $100,000. We want 100 fundraisers. How many people do they need to reach out to for us to reach that goal? So that is a best practice to kind of work backwards from your overall goal and your personal fundraisers goals that you're challenging them to reach as well. Some of these outreach toolkits also include the actual list of where they can list out all of those people they're going to reach out to and through which channels they're going to, because of course, grandma is probably going to give most likely through a check or cash. So you're going to approach grandma a little differently than you would say a cousin who is, really active on social media. So you might just ask them through Facebook Messenger. So I think the best way to challenge people is to not just think of who they're going to be reaching out to, but what channels are they're most likely going to respond through. All right. Next up is the email package. This is a really essential part of these peer-to-peer toolkits. On average, across the board, this is just sort of been out there from many different studies that it takes about 7 touches to make a sale. Fundraising is really no different. So people are going to need a lot of different points of contact in order for them to actually make a donation. They might not donate the first time you send an email, and fundraisers might not know this. So by giving them all of the emails that they need in order to not just send that initial email, but also do all of the follow-ups and follow through to the end of their fundraiser, that's how you're going to really equip them to succeed and reach their goals. Because people might feel discouraged, right? Like if I send somebody a text right now and they don't respond right away, there's a part of our culture that tells us that means that they're not interested, but maybe it means they're just busy and couldn't at the moment, or didn't have, they got distracted. So email follow-up is really important, not just to your overall, you do the same whenever you launch a big campaign, is do follow-ups, emails throughout the campaign. The same thing applies to those peer-to-peer fundraisers. So when you think about crafting content for all of these emails, just remember that this is written from the perspective of an individual. I've seen too many of these where it just sounds like this is a professional at the organization speaking. And I think it should be written from a little bit more colloquial type of standpoint, because think about it, if you were just off the street saying, hey, donate to this organization, what that verbiage would be like. So kind of just consider who your audience is when crafting this email content for them. It should also very clearly communicate what they as an individual are trying to accomplish, why that matters, and what the impacts will be for the organization if it's successful. It should either tell a story related to your overall campaign or encourage them to share their own story. Answer the question, why now? Why should their contact, friend, or family member give now? And also have that clear call to action to donate, because you don't want to have people be like, wow, that's just awesome that you're doing all that. And, but specifically have that call to action to give at the end of those emails. So here's some examples from some of these packages that I've seen. So this was from, again, Amigos. They did a great job of having a email and letter writing campaign, and they kind of explored all of those points as to why they need to not just send one email, but also follow up. And also what kind of language they can use. They're encouraging people to tell stories right from the heart, not from your head, and really giving them some guidelines on what actually makes engaging email content. So they give that background, and then they also gave pre-written emails for them to use as well. I also wanted to show you what some of these emails look like, just so you can kind of get a few different ones. So one of my favorites is the short and sweet version from Fiverr. I like this because it is written like an individual would write to a friend or family member. There's other emails that are way too long. Whenever I get a long email, I instantly open it, and if it looks like too much work, I am very likely to get distracted. So I like the short and sweet version of these emails. This was also from Volo City Kids Foundation. I like this because it had a lot of those impact statements as to, giving them the background about, really the populations they're serving. So it does go into more of that storytelling, impact-driven aspect, and giving some specific dollar amounts are mentioned. It costs $175 to provide free sports programming. So it's sort of insinuating that they're asking for a $175 gift or helping them reach that $175 so that they can, basically support a kid for 7 weeks. And then they have that very clear call to action and then a place where they can insert their fundraising link. Duradash did really great with not just having, emails that help them start and their fundraiser, but also their halfway through email. Very simple. And it showed them, where they can personalize it as well and made it very clear so that people don't just copy and paste something and send out something that isn't personalized and with their own link, because of course the link to their own personal page needs to be in there. So I love these halfway through emails. So emails that not just are written for the first day when people are all excited to share, but also those follow-up ones to keep going through the end. I also think that something that's very important is to include a thank you message in this email. That they not just get thank you from you, but also a thank you from the peer-to-peer fundraiser themselves, because that only, of course, all donors need to feel appreciated. And with peer-to-peer, it's no different. And if people sign up to fundraise for you again next year and their friends and family never got thanked for their gift, less likely to succeed. But with a great thank you message, they can really go far. So this also had some other, the Amigos example also had a few other ways that they could show thank you. So saying like, you might want to follow up with a phone call or a thank you note. You might want to send them a letter while you're on your volunteer trip. And share pictures and say thank you on social media. There's or they could do a personal visit. And so giving them some ways that they can thank outside of email or social media as well, I thought was a really nice touch. So effectively with your email promo package, you're just giving them all of the content that they need, ideally to not just, of course, giving them email strategy and how to actually market their personal fundraising page and drive people to donate via email. But also giving them all of the content that they can really quickly and easily copy and paste and send out. So that's really what your email package is all about. And so you want to have a lot of those emails, pre-written emails for them. Make sure that the content is engaging. You want to, of course, all the best practices that you use to drive donations yourself. Of course, you just want to use that to provide your peer-to-peer fundraisers with really strong content that's designed to convert. Make sure that it's easy to copy and paste. I know sometimes PDFs, it gets, sometimes people have a hard time copy and pasting from that. So whatever format you're sending out your toolkit in, just make sure it's easy to copy and paste into their into their own email client. I've also seen maybe some mail to type of things where it opens up with the message pre-drafted, but I'd have to get back to you on exactly how that works. And then I would also include in the email package, kind of like what the Duradash campaign did, which is, have clearly marked messages to go out like during the start of the fundraiser, midway through the fundraiser, and at the end. So having those suggested send dates is really important. And then of course, giving them the content to effectively say thank you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about social media package as well. So this is probably also, aside from emails, this is the other other side of the coin, same side, different sides of the same coin, is the social media package. And just something to think about whenever you're suggesting people promote across social media. Of social media users who donate, 56% said that a compelling story is what motivated them to make a donation. So just kind of keep that in mind, that whatever content that you're creating for them to share on social media, the more focused it is on your fundraiser story or storytelling in general, the more likely it's going to convert, because the content that you want to make sure that you're driving people to donate through emotion, and basically creating the type of content that actually gets people to take a step and make a donation. So some examples of this this was a PTA fundraiser that Kelly McLaughlin, I don't know if you're familiar with her. She's a really wonderful consultant for nonprofits, but this is from one of her toolkits. So she's saying, hey, so on social media, you probably have to ask people 3 times. So don't just post to social once. And then she's also saying, ask, think, repeat, don't just make every post on social media while you're doing this an ask post, balance it out with fundraising updates and thank yous. Also suggesting to tell your story with a video, because, of course, like, video is also a huge part of social media and another way to best share stories. So just, great example of just a few quick social media tips that give people the lay of the land of really how to promote their pages on social. Another example I loved from Miles for Mojave Desert Land Trust. I love that they had a couple of different options. So they had a long version for Facebook, and then they had a short version for Twitter and Instagram. So very similar content, but differentiated by different platforms that they were sharing on. They also had images that were already pre-made for them and ready to download. So I love the quick download a zip file of the above images for their use to share. They're also prompting people to customize this and made it their own. And then they again also shared when they should be sharing this. So this particular post was written for the end of their fundraising period. So I absolutely love these pre-written posts. Faith in Action also did something very similar, pre-wrote that post for them. So they had a series of pre-written posts that they can just copy and paste and send out. They actually didn't really have to customize it other than their URL. And then they had a lot of suggested posts alongside that. Another really great one is this fundraiser for national parks. So it's a peer-to-peer fundraiser, and they're encouraging people to really share their own stories on social media. They are including that folder of free photos that they can use from national parks. But I loved this pro tip. Go back to your social media posts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, and look at the people that like the photo. If they didn't donate to your campaign, follow up with a simple message. And they pre-wrote that message for them, and we're encouraging people to copy and paste that. So what a great way to not just continue posting and shouting out to everyone across social media, but actually following up with people who have engaged with them. Another huge part of a lot of these social media toolkits is, of course, the images that go along with them. So a lot of these great toolkits have a graphics package. Chesapeake Climate Action Network had this really great infographic that they created, and we're encouraging people to share across different platforms. They also, I believe, encourage people to share it via email as well. So, think through all the different mediums that these can be shared on as well. Pandemic professors, they created, a few different types of posts that were really designed with different platforms in mind as well. So you can not just write up content designed for different platforms, but also create content that's really tailored for each different social media platform. This was another just example of the graphics package that Duradash had, and they had some quick links to just go ahead and download. I love Gifs. Gifs are really fun and engaging. So that was a great add on to their graphics package. Another big thing that I guess isn't technically social media, but it is still social sharing, is actually text messages. And that's been something that I've been seeing more and more in a lot of these toolkits. And I actually think it's probably the most likely way that people are going to immediately respond to you is by text. So I've seen some of these text message templates with both texting tips as well as, of course, that content that they can copy and paste and send out. I loved from Duradash, they had a whole bunch of different ones that they can choose from and customize as well. So yeah, I think texting and peer-to-peer goes like really hand in hand. So by supplying people with not just social media, but also texting options, it really helps create the type of multi-channel campaign that really drives the most success. So it shouldn't just be email, it shouldn't just be social media, it shouldn't just be texting, but when you surround your audience with asks from different angles, you're most likely going to get people to convert a lot easier. I also loved the idea of engaging people to share their own stories in creative ways. There's different ways that I've seen this done. It could be through a challenge, what is, an image sharing challenge across social media. Stupid Cancer did this challenge that just said, today is National Scar Appreciation Day. Our scars make us unique, and really shared this powerful image from one of their survivors in their network, and then encourage people to share their own scar story on social. So you can always kind of make it fun and interactive, top down from your organization. It doesn't all have to be in the toolkit, but you can also create different challenges throughout your campaign to spark sharing of your personal fundraisers as well, telling their own stories. All right, so your social media promo package should give them everything they need to promote their page on social media and over text. So it really should give them both the know-how and the materials that they can really easily copy, paste, and send out. The best social media kits have tips on how to create social media content that drives engagement, pre-written social media posts and text to customize from the start to the end of the campaign, graphics package, and also hashtags they should be using as well, included in those social posts. And the best practices is to really, as an organization, try and make this content as engaging as possible with images, GIFs, videos, everything that you can think of that would really drive engagement online. Suggested send dates are really helpful to give people sort of a timeline to think of. Different content for different social media platforms. So kind of like segmenting that out and considering, this type of image won't work on Instagram. So, we have to think of, how can we reformat this? Making sure again that it's really easy and copy and paste is essential for that content. Downloadable link to the graphics content, that's just going to be kind of more of an essential piece of it, but and also thinking about like different challenges that you can introduce throughout the campaign or also include in the toolkit. I have this resource for you actually from our digital fundraising summit last year. It was a session that's really all about creating content on Canva. So I think, with this comes a lot of effort on your end to create graphics, but you can do it really easily with Canva. And so if you want a quick overview tutorial and just, a walkthrough of how you can actually easily create graphics to share on social, I encourage you to take a look at that short session on as part of the Digital Fundraising Summit. And Mary Ann Smith, should we provide a timeline? And the answer is yes. And so now that I've shown you the emails and social media posts and texts and whatever, you want to also think about putting this in a very digestible way that all of your fundraisers can follow. So I really recommend a promotional content calendar to provide to your fundraisers. So I loved this example from Parkinson's, Nebraska. There was this Walk the State challenge, and there was this actual calendar of July through August through September that showed which posts and which emails to send on what dates. Of course, it's suggestions, but it really did help keep a lot of their fundraisers on track to meet their goals. And it shows all of this in a very quick and easily digestible way. So this actually, I interviewed Amber as part of this webinar I did called, yeah, so we had a peer-to-peer toolkit webinar before. It's actually different than this content. But I also interviewed webinar in our, during our how to create a virtual walkathon. So if you want to hear more about just her whole process in creating her toolkit and what this really did for her campaign, you can watch that webinar. But also Giving Tuesday. So Fiverr Children's Foundation did their Giving Tuesday campaign, and they listed it out differently. So I consider this a promotional calendar kind of, but it's just in a different format. It's more just like listed out in that timeline. So it's just giving them rough ideas of what they should be sending week 1, week 2, week 3, and giving them approximate time commitments for each of that too. Because, you know, I guess you could easily look at this and be like, there's a lot of things that I have to do. But I loved that they broke it down that this is going to take you like 20 minutes to do, or 10 to 15 minutes. And that, you know, makes it more encouraging for the fundraisers too, that they're not just, you know, kind of left out to dry and try to, you know, push out all of this content all by themselves. It gives you something to really follow along with. So I really recommend the promotional content calendar. It kind of like ties everything all up in one big bow and keeps fundraisers on track to reach their fundraising goals throughout the whole campaign, giving them all the details of what they should send and when. And you've already provided all that content, so it's really easy for them to stay on track. So, you know, it could be the calendar view, I think is great. There could also be a list view. It doesn't have to be one or the other. You can kind of think about what would work best for your audience or do both. It really doesn't, you know, it's really all about what you think would work for your particular audience and fundraisers. I love the idea of adding how long it will take so that they, again, have an idea of like what exactly they're committing to as well each week. And yeah, the best thing that I could say is map this out before you create the rest of the content, because that will actually help you figure out how much content that you need to create for your fundraisers. And the more in advance that you map this out for your fundraisers, you're also probably going to be doing the same types of communications and same types of promotional plan for your overall peer-to-peer campaign too. So it can kind of help you stay on track to make sure that you're hitting your points so that your fundraisers can hit their dates for each of their communications. All right, and let's talk about FAQ really quick. I know that we don't have a lot of time left, so I'm just going to go over a couple great examples. I love the links to the support articles. I love, you know, do I get any perks from fundraising? You know, these types of questions that maybe people will be keeping in mind. So FAQ, really the goal is just to clear up any confusion. My tip for making this work for you is to consider testing your fundraising out on your board first and seeing what questions they have so you know what to include in it. But yeah, frequently asked questions like just, you know, who they can reach out to if they have questions. If they need some platform support articles, and also support emails that they can access, and any other event participation info. And I also have a few other toolkit examples that I see sometimes. I sometimes see a letter from the executive director. I sometimes see webinars outside of the toolkit that people can attend and actually learn how to promote their page and use the toolkit appropriately. I think that was a really great idea from Faith in Action. I like incentives. When you incentivize your fundraisers, it's just, even this is just a raise $50 and you can win $100 gift card. Potentially it's just a raffle. But getting them all fired up to start really sharing more. You don't even have to just use the toolkit to promote your to raise money. You can also have people encourage their friends and family to attend events. So that's an example from this here. I also see sometimes like actual letters with Amigos. They did a whole letter that they wrote out as well, but also updated it to the 21st to 2021 with suggesting that they use a QR code right to their personal page. So I kind of thought that was really interesting. And then also other ways that they can fundraise. So Amigos had a list of actual outside grants and scholarships that they can apply to help them fundraise. But, maybe this would look a little bit different depending on, your own suggestions, whether it's, reaching out to partners and businesses and that kind of thing. So other toolkit items I sometimes see: letter from the CEO, webinar trainings, fundraising incentives, alternative fundraising sources, physical letter templates, instructions for offline gifts is something that you should also probably include because not everyone's going to give online. So I wanted to loop back to that anatomy of a fundraising toolkit real quick here. You're also again going to get these slides that you can come back to. But now that you know everything that you're trying to put in your toolkit, let's talk about how you can actually host this. So really the only requirement is that it's a linkable file. A few common ones are, creating it with Word doc or a PowerPoint and then saving it as a PDF. You can upload it on Dropbox or Google Drive and basically get that link. I always like it when it's a direct download link where they don't actually have to like open up the Google Drive, the doc in Google Drive and then download it. You can get those direct download links, make it easy for people. You also can just share a link to a Google Drive folder for them to navigate through there. There's also a Canva presentation option that I've seen used sometimes now. But just whatever you're using, try and make sure all the links work and that it's easy for them to navigate to those links. You don't want to have them, those links to the external resources and support articles and social media and all of that, make sure all those links work when clicked on. So I have a couple of examples here from Spinal CSF Leak Foundation. They have all these PDFs directly linked from a landing page on their website. So I thought that was a really nice way to display them. Here's also just, a link to one of these toolkits from Google Drive. And so it has a big PDF and then it has all the different promotional graphics that they can use as well. So you want to distribute the toolkit whatever way that you're doing it, however you're linking it. You'll want to distribute the toolkit both ahead of time, before they sign up, and then also throughout the sign up process. So in that email series that goes out to recruit your fundraisers, including that can help people feel confident that they'll be supported to reach their goals, and also just gives them more content to look through ahead of time before they sign up and commit to fundraising. And then also, you could have take the Duradash approach, have a link on your website landing page, all those toolkit items linked on your website landing page for your campaign. You also should probably include a link to this in a welcome email. So as soon as people set up their personal fundraising page using whatever platform you're using, there should be an automatic email that goes out to say, hey, everybody, thanks for participating, and then also include the link there. within the platform for easy fundraiser access if possible, and then also ongoing follow-up throughout the campaign. So this is from Volo City. They have this email goes out automatically to each individual that signs up, and one of the links in this email is to their toolkit that they can use. So it gives them their toolkit right away. Also, CauseVox has the ability for you to just link the toolkit, and it's actually featured every time a fundraiser logs in to their personal fundraising page. They have that toolkit link handy dandy right there. Yeah, a fundraiser toolkit only goes so far. I really highly recommend to get the most out of your toolkit. You'll also need to do weekly emails to your fundraising participants to keep them on track, maybe give them, what their to-dos are for this week, and other ways that they can get involved. One of the great things is that a toolkit is dynamic. You can make updates to it as long as you keep the link the same. And you can also connect fundraisers with each other. I always really like to see when campaigns have Facebook groups for their peer-to-peer fundraisers so that they can share even more with each other. So that's just a few tips from me. I really highly recommend, if you liked this presentation, you can actually go ahead and download the full toolkits using this link that, again, I just shared in the chat. So that's our blog post, and you'll see there's a place for you to go ahead and put in your email and download this. If you're interested in learning more about fundraising with CauseVox, we make it really easy to run your peer-to-peer fundraising. So fundraisers can set up their own pages in 60 seconds or less. We have integrated sharing options, and you can default a lot of content, so it makes it really easy. And then there is that fundraiser toolkit link option. So we tried to really streamline it to help you raise more with less effort. I'm also offering, for anyone that is interested, a year of CauseVox for the price of 6 months. So if you're interested in that, I can also include, you can just use that link and book your demo with me as well. So yeah, I'll go ahead and share. I think it's that link, but sorry if I shared the wrong one, but I think that'll still book me. All right, so I know I'm like 2 minutes over. Sorry, Mark.
No,
but
you've covered a lot. That's great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
No, I appreciate it. I think there was a question in here. I think you might have addressed it, but just to make sure, do you suggest creating one big document for fundraisers that includes packages for each channel, or should we split the toolkit into chunks, i.e. email resources, social media, etc.?
I think it is kind of best if it's broken up a little bit. I think if people get a toolkit and it's one giant PDF, it's gonna intimidate people. But you can also do quick links to like anchor links to take them to different sections. So if you do it that way, that's what I would say, is like do some anchor linking. And yeah, but I think something that's as quick to use and has just like either like folders or broken up in different ways, just so that they can access each section of the toolkit, is probably the easiest way for people to navigate it.
Well, that was a lot of great, useful information. Thank you, Candice, and thanks everybody that was able to attend. We still have one more session this afternoon if you're able to hang in there on a Friday afternoon or wherever you are in the world. But again, just a reminder, all these sessions will be recorded, and we're asking the presenters to post their decks into the peer-to-peer LinkedIn group. That we can send links to as well in an email on Tuesday. We're sending it, but we also shared it throughout this session. So anyways, thank you, everybody. If you're not joining us for any other further sessions, have a great weekend. And thank you so much, Candice.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'll go ahead and share the slides so everyone can get all of the examples and everything. So
perfect.
Great.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Take care. Have a